Good day. Welcome to The Spread, Nessen's sports betting, sports picks podcast. We do a little bit of everything podcast. One of these days, we're going to hammer the tagline.
Sure.
Or we'll just wait till the NFL season comes around. We'll just call it a football podcast again, see if anyone notices. I'm Nessen.com's Mike Cole, joined once again, and as always, by Ricky Doyle. Ricky, how are you
Doing pretty
week?
good, Mike. How are you doing?
I've never been better.
Wow. All right.
We are living life to the fullest. Everything's good. The sun's out. The birds are chirping. I've never been happier. Life is fantastic.
Yeah. Yeah, we got it all. Embarrassment of riches. Although, when we were sitting here last week, we were talking about, we're big on Eastern Conference Finals weather around here.
Yeah.
And we looked ahead. We looked at the Doppler. We said, we're going to get some clear skies. It's going to be around 80 degrees, but we thought that we were going to have alternating games in the region with the Bruins and the Celtics. We have the Celtics still going.
I keep
no
forgetting
Bruins.
the Celtics are.
And also don't have Celtics-Knicks, which I think was a little bit of a draw, but whatever.
Well,
it is what it is.
We're going to get to like everything today. We'll do football, some basketball. What else do we have? We might do a little golf. Might do even some NASCAR, some wrestling.
Why not?
For our friends.
Yeah, we're kind of winging it today. A little bit of a whip around, just level setting.
We've got a lot of stuff
level
going
setting.
on. Yeah, I forgot what point I was going to. So we'll get to the Celtics eventually, but like even watching game one of the Eastern Conference Finals, I was kind of like, well, this is, I guess they're in the conference finals, but like playing Indiana doesn't really feel right. Like they kind of were in control of most of that game except for when they
we're going to
weren't.
get to the Celtics at some point, but then we're just going to jump right in.
My point was going to be, it's just, they still are on like a path where it doesn't feel like they are one step away from the NBA Finals.
Right, yeah.
So this is the long way of tying it back to the Eastern Conference Finals weather is like, we have the weather and we do have the conference finals thing, but it doesn't feel like it. My point was going to be like, we pretend like it matters whether the teams are playing. It doesn't. Like it's 85 degrees outside either way, but it is right on cue.
Yeah.
Here we are.
Yeah,
so that was a Billy Madison and no point.
Yeah, right. Let's talk football now.
Do you have anything else to tie up any loose ends from last week? I don't really even remember what we talked about.
So last week we were in a little bit of a pickle last week because we were trying to go over a lot of the NFL schedule release stuff while it was trickling out in real time. So that complicated matters a little bit, but we touched on, we had some.
That's true. We did PGA
Championship. I think we probably have some.
I think
some leftover thoughts there.
The hell out of that. Didn't get the right winner, but I told you it's gonna be long and soft.
Sure, yeah, soft
and long, and it turned into Bryson DeChambeau and Xander Schauffele. So So I guess there is not a whole lot to get into. So we'll kind of rehash or pick at the NFL schedule release. We're not going to go week by week or anything like that.
Game by game.
Yeah, no.
272 games,
just
whatever it is.
Some leftover talking points. I think you were basically. I don't want to take any credit for this. This rundown is mostly you're doing. So I might defer to you in some regards. But one thing we want to talk about is we've had enough time now to just really dive into week one, and I don't want to give any spoilers necessarily for what we're going to be pulling when September comes around, because we're going to have to recycle.
Opinions could change, too. A lot could happen.
Well, I was going to say, what I'm very much looking forward to is I'm about to give you my one way too early week one bet that I'm making. Yeah. I can't wait to forget all about it and contradict myself with the exact opposite side.
That's why you can lock it in now.
When September rolls around.
So, it's in there.
All right, so Ricky, give me your 3-unit pick.
Right.
For what's the week one bet you're already making?
I'm kind of. I guess we'll go back to one of the games we were talking about last week. I'm looking at that Friday night primetime game.
Oh, sure.
Packers Eagles, Friday night, different continent, playing in Brazil. I think you're going to see two teams with improved defenses this year. So I'm looking at the total 47.5 right now. I'm leaning under in that.
The other thing too with that is you don't know what the turf's going to be like.
That's the thing. There's way too much variance involved.
It kind of has the feeling of like when college basketball teams, they go play in like stadiums and it's just cavernous. And it takes a while to get used to the shooting lines.
We've seen it with like the games in Mexico City and like how the elements can factor into that. So like I don't know. It's just a whole different beast. And like I said, I think you're gonna have two better defenses this year. And also, like, as much as we sit here and we talk about how much we love Jordan Love, I could see, him coming out and having a slower start to the year. Also, like, the Eagles' offense, what's their identity at this point? So that just seemed like a high total to me, 47.5. So I'd like to get in on the under while I can.
I like that. One thing I looked at was I probably should have done a little research into this, but it does feel like it takes teams with new offensive coordinators a while to get going. So I looked at all the teams with new offensive coordinators and was trying to find a few that have both teams have new offensive coordinators. I found 3 of them, I think it was. I could pull that up for you if I can find my notes. Chargers, Raiders, Saints, Panthers. But the one I'm looking at is Bucks, Commanders. I'm taking the under 41.5, a low number as it is, but I think we go even under that. You've got, like I said, two new OCs squaring off. Washington, they made a play in the offseason to hire a defensive-minded head coach. Their defense was not great last year. They traded away their 2 best defensive players at the trade deadline. They did not do a ton to reload necessarily, but maybe just it feels like you want to make a good first impression on the new boss as soon as you get a chance. So I think the defense will look a little bit better. There's question marks about both offenses. Baker Mayfield, I'm not totally sold, especially now that there's what's his face, Canales has gone to Carolina. I look at their depth chart; it's not overly inspiring. Neither side is. And one thing that really, I'm looking at these 3 games and I'm trying to figure out which one I want to choose of this trend that I might have made up all on my own that is unproven. And I pulled up. I was just blindly googling best NFL defenses 2024, and I came across an offering from Dakota Randall at Pro Football Network ranking all 32 defenses, and he ranked Washington as the 32nd ranked defense. And he is a moron, so I'm just going to fade him.
Sure.
You know what I mean? And
so it's a tried and true approach.
I think Washington might be.
If we had done that all the years we worked with them, we'd probably be on the greener pastures.
This could be one of the greatest defenses of all time, based on just Dakota's dumbass opinion. So I like the Commanders to come out here with an inspired effort. I don't see much from either one of these offenses, so I'm going way under the
I think you might get home just based on Tampa Bay's defense being good.
That's the other thing, too.
I think if there's a strength of that team, we'll probably get into them at some point in some of these other talking points, but the one thing about the Buccaneers is that they have some continuity on that defense. So if there is, I'm with you. I'm not really sold on their offense, but
I thought you were going to say you're not sold on Dakota.
Well, I mean, I think that
speaks for itself.
Saying,
that's fair.
But yeah, so I think I'm with you on that.
Cool. I like your pick too.
Oh, thank you. It's exchanging. It's the weather. It's the weather.
Exciting stuff. Both of us on unders to start the season. So.
Any other games you look at though and you're standing out? I'm gonna pull up the week.
No, not really.
No, the primetime games are really good.
Yeah,
it could be a very entertaining first week.
One thing, so we'll get into this. I guess I don't know if you want to get into it right now, but kind of looking at, there's a lot of low key big games, or maybe I guess low key big is maybe a bit of an oxymoron. But
definitely, probably.
Yeah. The more I look at this, I don't want to run through the entire slate, but you're like. The primetime games, which we mentioned, obviously, but even a game like Jacksonville, Miami, you can make a case for both of those teams to make deep runs this year. Houston and Indy is a big divisional game. What else was there? Dallas, Cleveland, the Brady game. That's a huge game. Rams, Lions. That's a primetime one too, obviously, but that's another. So there are some, you can squint hard enough and see legitimate playoff matchups. So I'm probably looking forward to. I'm going to be settled in nicely Saturday or Sunday night for that Rams-Lions game on Sunday Night Football. I'm really looking forward to that one. I know we kind of already knew about that, but I just like that playoff rematch. That playoff game was awesome. This is going to be one of those ones where you want to talk about Eastern Conference Final weather. We're going to have NFL Week 1 weather where it's going to be 85 degrees. Maybe I'll spend some time floating in the pool during the day, but the sun goes down, it gets cool. Now you're starting to feel it.
You a noodle guy? You got
No, I hate noodles. They're the most useless things in the world.
They really are.
All they're good for is slapping people and slapping the water.
Yep.
So then you just watch the day of football, and then you got that game on Sunday. I'm stoked. So that's the game I have circled.
Yeah. I mean, I guess the one thing with the schedule release, now we know who everybody's playing so far in advance. It's not it's not this big reveal. The order of games and some of that is, but
it's mostly just making your own schedule. You're like,
kind of
clear my 4:30 window.
So
for that.
So we've already kind of gone into a lot of the futures bets, like Super Bowls, conference championships, and things like that. But the one market that is sort of interesting, I guess, to look at post schedule release is that last remaining undefeated team or last remaining winless team.
That's why I brought up that Rams-Lions game, because I was looking at one of those teams for this market, and I was like, there's like 5 games that could legitimately knock you out of that if you have one of those bets.
Yeah. But
there's no layups.
But it's like in a lot of cases, you're looking at it and you're like, if I can get home in that game, and then there's a 5 or 6 game stretch with this team where maybe they are the last remaining undefeated team. So that was just one that I had pulled up. I'm not sure if you looked at that at all. If you had any thoughts on it.
I did. So I went.
What was the team you were looking at?
I went value based, because I don't like. I think the Chiefs are the favorite. I think they're like plus 475 or something like that. They start slow. I just feel like that's not something I want to wrap up my money in. And I don't know. They could get knocked off week 1. The one team I could look at and say there's value here and they could do it. Houston, 15-1. They are favored in their first 6 games before going to Green Bay, a game that they could also definitely win. They have all feels like a talk of the town team, so there's like a narrative there too, where it's like I could see us looking up at what would it be like Halloween and be like, the Texans are here. They are. They're here, and let's go. So they're also, I think they have not something to prove necessarily, but they're ready to take that next step. So they're not going to dial it back early in the season. I don't think they're a younger roster, I believe. So at 15-1, that feels like they have a chance. Their first 6 games are at Indy, home versus Chicago, at Minnesota, home Jacks, home Buffalo, a game that they're favored in, and then they come to New England before that Green Bay game. So I could see 6-0, 7-0 there. Maybe.
Just
for 15-1 at least.
15-1, yeah. So just add a little context. So San Fran is the favorite to be the last remaining undefeated team. It's 7-1.
There's no guarantee they beat the Jets week 1. So that's one where I was like, I can't.
So you're looking at 49ers 7-1, Chiefs plus 950, Lions 10-1.
It's not even close then.
Bengals 12-1. Dolphins 13-1.
That's the
Eagles
other thing,
13, and then you get into the 15.
Those are all hard cases to make too.
So
like Cincinnati, I have no idea what to expect of Joe Burrow coming back.
It is kind of tough because one team I guess that immediately jumped out to me is Miami at 14-1. But I'm not I have questions about Miami for the long haul.
It's in line with the trend though. They start hot and they kind of fall between injury or the weather.
Favored in every game until week 9, which is when they visit Buffalo. They got Jacksonville to open up. Then they go to Buffalo on a Thursday night. So that's sort of like the make or break game if you're backing them. Then they go to Seattle, which I guess a tough trip, but very winnable.
Game,
then they got Monday night at home versus Tennessee, at New England, the early bye, which should favor them.
For something like this, yeah, right.
At Indy versus Arizona. So those first 8 weeks, all very winnable games. Again, that Buffalo one on Thursday night is kind of the coin flip game, but they're favored in each of them. And at 14-1, like you said, they generally start hot. I do think I think the thing with Miami is you look at those early season games and the whole weather home field advantage
That's
thing.
Fair, yeah.
I guess it's negated to an extent by playing Jacksonville at home in week 1.
Yeah.
They know hot weather.
Yeah, that's true. The Dolphins are shiny new toy team where they have a lot of that too. We're gonna all forget about the fact that they've fallen on their face the last couple of years or whatever when they're putting up 48 points in week 1 or something, and it's here they are.
You get enamored with them, and then probably late season collapse.
I like
again.
that.
So that was the one that stood out to me. I guess Detroit being maybe another one, but again, to your point, I don't know, did they get by that game?
Revenge game
against the Rams. That was that week 1. I think that was sort of when we talk about our way too early week 1 bets. Rams getting 3.5 points in that game is standing out.
I was lining up Detroit for that game, and I was like, no, I don't think they're going to win week 1, so I can't do it.
But they get by them. They got Tampa, Arizona, Seattle the next 3 weeks, then a bye. So I don't know. But Miami, I think, is my play for last remaining undefeated team.
So who's the last remaining winless team then?
So this, I think I got 2 teams that kind of jump out to me. Let me just pull up the number real quick to give you a little bit of context. The favorites being in our own backyard.
Oh, wow, really?
The Patriots at plus 650.
What do you guess the Panthers?
The Panthers are plus 850, and sandwiched in between is the Tennessee Titans at 8-1.
Okay. All right. Well, who are you picking then?
I'm looking at maybe the Vikings.
I'm going to put a pin in Tennessee, by the way.
Vikings at 10-1. That's another one.
Yeah.
Like that first game on the road against the Giants feels winnable, but again, kind of a coin flip. Then they got San Francisco, Houston, at Green Bay, the Jets in London, a bye, the Lions, at the Rams.
Cool. Yeah, I can see that.
So as long as they lose that first one, I think there's a pretty prolonged stretch there. Other one being Denver at 13-1 because I think they just might be god awful this year.
Yeah. Oh yeah. For me, I'm looking at again value play a little bit longer of a number, 13-1 on Denver. The
So you agree?
Yeah, their depth chart
Bad.
Bo Nix, Jarrett Stidham, Zach Wilson at quarterback. One thing you would maybe feel better about is if they had an elite playmaker on the outside. And it's Cortland Sutton, Josh Reynolds, Marvin Mims. Like, I don't know. I don't know how good their defense is. Based on Vegas win totals, they have the 8th most difficult schedule for the entire season. The start's pretty tough. They go at Seattle, home against Pittsburgh, but that's a potential Russell Wilson revenge game. At Tampa Bay, at the Jets, home for Vegas, home for the Chargers, at Carolina before a Week 8 game against Carolina, or at New Orleans, home for Carolina, which is just, maybe the game that they break through. I don't know.
I mean,
you got to think they're going to take a step, but you look at the schedule, you look at the team, and it's like, I don't know. This might be a little early. I'm not a big. Maybe Bo Nix is better than I think he is. I'm just not ready to buy that.
No, I think they got eyes for the number 1 overall pick next year.
That's fair. Yeah,
they might really be stinky.
Hell yeah.
That's my early assessment.
There you go.
But then I'll probably take him in week 1. Who the hell knows?
Yeah, probably. So, the number's good. It's the number, not the team. So, yeah. Wow. All right. That was more. I don't know. Like I feel like we're seeing the board well. I guess.
I think so. I think
here.
we got it all. What more needs to be said? So you can get out of here.
Yeah. So we've poured over the schedule. Which teams we missed the playoffs last season are going to make the playoffs this year? So there's we got an email from I forget who, bookmakers.
That's the thing too. It's like we get emails late in the week. And we're like, we'll talk about that.
Somebody
next
has
week.
these odds. I feel like I should probably look that up. But teams that missed the playoffs last year that are favored to make the playoffs this year, that means that they are minus money for their yes to make the playoffs are Atlanta at yes minus 275, Chicago minus 130, Cincinnati minus 225, and the Jets minus 130. I guess you could technically go off the board here if you'd like. Which team that made the playoffs last year will miss them this year?
You mean?
No, I screwed it up. You know what I mean. Missed last year, make it this year.
I'm looking at the Jets.
Why?
Like they're. I mean,
not a ton of value there either. It's kind of speaks to the division.
I mean, it's I guess. How are we approaching this? It's just like of those 4 teams.
I'm just saying. I wasn't talking about like you making a bet. I was just saying that they are certainly not the favorite of those. You know what I mean?
No, yeah. Well, I guess. Well,
the minus 130 is not a huge number. Speaks to the fact that it's no sure thing that they get back to the playoffs.
Yeah. But I mean, I just look at the defense. Obviously, I mean, it's
pretty good.
It's good.
Yeah.
And again, it kind of like we talked about with Tampa Bay. Like I think this is a fair amount of continuity there. So like that they, in theory, not only should be good, but they're capable of taking the next step. I think the improvements they made along the offensive line, obviously. There's the quarterback. They have one now. Like they won 7 games last year with an offense that at times looked about as bad as you could possibly look. I think, even though I just had Miami in my undefeated bet, I think late season you might see some regression there, and I think Buffalo, with the changes they've made on defense and just some of the moving parts there might be times that they don't quite look right.
Yeah.
Patriots obviously just bad. Jets going to benefit from an easy schedule. They get the 3rd place schedule, having finished how they did last year. They're playing the NFC West, so they could face multiple rookie quarterbacks early. It's all kind of lining up for them, and I also do like the fact there's a little bit of like a post-hype sleeper to them. Like everybody's kind of in on them last year, and
the fact that they won
kind of jumped off. So
they won 7 games last year. Like that's a
wild,
decent
right?
amount of games, and I do think we're probably being a little premature with. I thought I saw was the ESPN said why the Jets will win the Super Bowl, or like there's maybe if everything goes right, sure, but like Aaron Rodgers just needs to be healthy and league average, and they're going to win.
He's a top
8 or 9 games
between
at
top
least.
15 and top 20 quarterback.
Yeah, and I think he's going to take.
Can win double-digit.
He's
games.
in the midst of clearly taking steps back. Like I thought his last year in Green Bay, he wasn't as good, even as he got credit for. Like he was a big issue for them down the stretch, and especially in that last game. But that representative quarterback play is enough to. It's so much better than what they got last year, and they still won 7 games last year. So
yeah, Breece Hall.
Yeah,
there could be a level of
that's the thing.
explosiveness
So
that they didn't have.
They've got talent everywhere. There's so much talent. There's some Justin Jefferson buzz already with that.
Now we're talking.
Atlanta is my pick. Just making a pick. I know they're a heavy favorite, but I think, spoiler alert, when we do season preview stuff, like I'm going to be all over the Falcons. I don't think that division's very good at all.
I think I took the Falcons way too much last year. And I'm just kind of like sick
well,
of them. I rocked myself to sleep.
I'm fading myself, and I'm just kind of like I'm like in a pretzel here. I'm like, I guess I'll go right back to it. Like it feels like 4 years ago I was making the same, proclamations. But that's my pick there. Did you want to do?
There's a chance that all 4 of those teams that you mentioned at the top, Atlanta, Cincinnati, the Jets, and Chicago, make the playoffs.
The Chicago thing.
Chicago's the one. I guess Chicago, if we want to talk which of those teams that's now favored to make the playoffs.
Are they going to make the playoffs over?
Doesn't make the playoffs. I think that's my pick. Is that because I think we're a little early. We're jumping the gun there.
Saying no? So
they won't make the playoffs. And especially in that division.
If you believe in Detroit and Green Bay at all, like, are they going to get 3 playoff teams? I just don't think so. I know the NFC is down, but I don't think that's. Talk to me next year.
But Cincinnati should.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah.
The tough division, but when you have the quarterback.
So what is it? Yeah.
I think you might see Baltimore regress a little bit. Pittsburgh might stink. I don't know.
Yeah.
We'll see. But I think 3 of those 4 teams could get in.
I agree. Do you want to do who made last
year? Yeah,
I'm
going to go to the flip side of it. I think it's kind of interesting.
Do you get the numbers up? I don't have them at the
so they're same thing with 4 teams that made the playoffs last season that are now favored to miss the playoffs this season. So in other words, is minus money on them missing the playoffs. You got Pittsburgh, it's minus 210 to miss the playoffs.
I forgot they even made the playoffs.
Tampa Bay minus 176 to miss the playoffs. Cleveland minus 164 to miss the playoffs. And the Rams minus 128 to miss the playoffs. These odds all as of Wednesday afternoon, courtesy of FanDuel.
I want to parlay all 3 except for the Rams and take that.
I think that was my thing. Like when I'm looking at this, I'm probably highest on the Rams of those 4 teams.
I think, yeah, and I feel like that's a pretty common opinion at this point, which makes me feel less smart. But I do think that they're going to be really good. And those other 3 teams, I don't think are going to be very good at all. I forgot that they all made the playoffs, so I just think there's a clear step back coming for them.
It's a weird, I know we already
kind of which one I dislike the most of those 3 though.
Too much Bucks talk already. I feel like, but that is a team that
Bucks have like 6-11 written all over them.
Yeah, they're a team that it's all they're. But you know what I've seen is like a sneaky amount of praise, like for them kind of keeping their core intact. Like I don't know how much better they got. Though.
I buy into the coaching.
That's my thing.
They just lost the guy who turned Baker Mayfield's entire career around. So like,
yeah.
Continuity.
They had a stretch last year where they lost 6 of 7.
That's yucky.
And they managed to make the playoffs.
That's stinky.
So they won 5 of 6 down the stretch. But you beat Carolina twice in there. Jacksonville, who I think they had lost like 4 in a row at that point. They lost to New Orleans. Like I don't know. I'm out on the Bucks.
Kansas City plus 320 to miss the playoffs. That's another one. I've been hitting that one for a while. They went out and won the Super Bowl last year, so what do I know? All right, and worst to first division champ candidates. These are the last place teams with their division odds per FanDuel. The Patriots 24-1, the Bengals plus 170, the Titans 8-1, the Chargers plus 350, the Commanders, almost called them the R word, 10-1. Chicago plus 320, Carolina 14-1, and Arizona 12-1. Do any of those jump off the page to you? I have one that's a value pick. Again, I'm not going.
I think I know who you like, but go ahead.
Who do you think I like?
The Titans.
Yeah, I do. Yeah. Well, just take it away from me. I just think it's that division. I just gave you Houston as a potential final undefeated team. So speaking out of both sides of my mouth, but I do think, what if they aren't that team? and all of a sudden the AFC South is wide open again. I think they made some really good moves. I don't know enough about Will Levis to make a proclamation about him moving forward, but I thought they did a really nice job of building around him. They go out and get Ridley, they get Tony Pollard, they signed was it Lloyd Cushenberry? Is that his name? Which sounds like
Tales of Lloyd Cushenberry,
right.
like it's something on Nickelodeon.
Yeah, right. There you go. Yeah, they drafted J.C. Latham. So like, I think if Houston's not everything that everybody else thinks they will, that thing's wide open, and I just give me the 8-1, I guess, for a chance that they go 9-8 or something. The fact that they don't have Vrabel anymore, probably not good, but maybe the change in bringing in Callahan, he's the offensive-minded guy, everything clicks, and now all of a sudden they're a wagon. I don't know.
Each year I feel like when you start looking at these possibilities, your eyes immediately go to the South, right?
Yes,
AFC South
right. There's
and
that
NFC
too,
South.
yeah.
Like I wouldn't fight you on it if you wanted to take the Panthers at 14-1 to win the NFC South. Like
I just don't think
I
they're
don't
very
love
talented.
it. I don't love that roster.
I did see a lot of Bryce Young last year, and I got to see it.
Not impressed.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but I mean, at 14-1 with that, we already went over it. I don't like the Bucks.
But I
the
just
Falcons,
got done talking about the Bucks losing Canales. Now he's in Carolina, so I guess now I'm tape tied. I'm all over the place.
So I mean, that's one where I'm like, if you want to get weird, I'll support you. But like the obvious one, as far as like there's not really any value in it. But the obvious one to go from worst to first is Cincinnati, right?
I think the Chargers are the more likely.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. Right.
Plus 350 for the Chargers to win the
Because
AFC West.
I think I'm kind of tipping my hand. I think I'm higher on Baltimore than I am Kansas City. I think is what that says.
Okay.
And I guess maybe I'm buying into the Harbaugh magic. I don't know. Because I look at the Chargers. They're so talented, and they just underperformed or underachieved with what they was with their coaching staff. So like maybe that's the one thing that changes, and all of a sudden they get right.
Coach quarterback, go from there.
Right. Yeah.
Patriots at 24-1, not doing anything for you.
I'm not interested.
Yeah.
So, what is their win total? Was it 4.5? Is it down even farther?
Yeah. So their win total at 4.5 with the juice to the over. I think it had been 5.5 as recently as right before.
Now it's getting beat back up.
Yeah. Make the playoffs plus 920 for a yes. Minus 2,000 for no. I already said the shortest odds to be the last remaining winless team at 6-1. They also have the shortest odds of any team to go 0-17.
Oh,
if you think that they can't even muster up a win, that is 36-1. I don't know. Do you have any Patriots thoughts whatsoever after looking at their schedule?
I got them for 6 wins.
6 wins. All right. I got them for 5, and I could probably be sold on a 6.
All right. So let's see. What's their first win?
Week 2 against Seattle.
What's their second win?
I got them week 7
against the Jags
in London.
Okay. What's the next one?
I think they could win at Tennessee week 9
at Tennessee.
I think
week 10 Chicago back-to-back road games.
I didn't have that one, but that's the one you could
difference.
talk me into. I also have a win week 15 at Arizona,
and I just say one divisional game somewhere.
One divisional game, and I'll tell you which one I'm looking at. Week 12 at Miami. Miami look at spot before facing Green Bay on Thanksgiving.
Okay, yeah, that's a Drake May game probably by then.
Come out of the yeah, maybe. I don't know what's their week 14 bye like. Maybe I don't know.
Playing by then, That's why it's weird that they didn't take the bye out of London because it just seems like a perfect chance to reset if you need to. Like basically halfway through the season.
Yep.
You get that week coming back from London. I understand. It actually makes sense. And I've kind of wondered this for a while. Like teams opting to save the bye. I get like the body clock issue, but like that's a 5-hour flight for New England, right? Like it's not a long flight.
Yep.
Like, you can be back before, especially the game starts at 9:30. You can be back before the Sunday night game's over. Or you're back on a regular week. You know what I mean? So, yeah, I think that was a great whip around the NFL.
Yeah, we touched on a lot of teams. A lot of teams.
So we're gonna I think we need to go quick here because everything we say is gonna be, time stamped or we're not timely or whatever. It's not evergreen. Speaking of green, the Celtics, they won game 1 of the Eastern Conference Finals. It was a wild one. They are the heavy favorites as of Wednesday afternoon to win the title, -165. It's not even worth getting into Minnesota and Dallas's numbers because they're going to change by the time that this thing gets out because they play game 1 tonight. Indiana 38-1. I thought it was interesting looking at the Celtics are now -2,000 to win the East. Which is -2,000 to win the series. Indy's 14-1. And going through the machinations here, a Celtics sweep is +250. Celtics in 5 is +135. Celtics in 6 +460, and Celtics in 7 6-1. I was reading something in Athletic today. They talked to a coach, a scout, and maybe one other, and it was the consensus was either Celtics in 5 or 6. 5 at +135, really following the trends that we've seen in recent rounds. Feels like. I mean, it's the favorite for a reason. I think it speaks volumes, though, that Celtics in 5 after surviving game 1 is a heavy, heavy favorite here, and they're still -2,000 to win it. I don't know. If you like Indy at all, I could maybe be tempted by 14-1. Do you think the Pacers can give the Celtics any sort of threat
So
here?
that game 1 is why the Celtics are probably going to win the title this year, right? And it almost has nothing to do with how good they are, even though that's a huge factor. It's like every other team is incapable of rising to the occasion. Like if the Celtics played that way against the Heat last year, or one of these other teams that has a bona fide superstar, they're in some trouble.
Well,
but Indy just like
at this
crapped
point,
down its leg.
At this point, they are 7 wins away, and I know I'm dating ourselves with that. So you just need 7 more wins. Like, it has a very small, so every chance that you have to get them farther away from that, you have to take. And so, you steal game 1 and you're much better set up. And I know this isn't rocket science to point this out. Be like, oh, they should have won, but they lost. That was dumb. But now they're just so much closer. Like, you get exponentially closer to winning the title with every win you get now. Like, it's there. And so if you don't knock them off of that post, it gets easier and easier to stay on the post, if that makes sense. So, that huge opportunity missed, it completely changes the series. And so, I don't think it's going to necessarily be easy. I think the Pacers have little to no chance of even coming close to winning this series, which, again, is not groundbreaking stuff, but, this was your best chance, and they just blew it.
Yeah, and, that's a game that they really, when you factor in the rest differential and all of that stuff, had no business being in. The 12-0 right out of the gate, that thing really could have went south. And then you scratch and claw your way back in, and they had some of the hot shooting that they had against the Knicks carried over. And, that's a game you're like, ooh, boy, they're going to steal this. They're going to steal this. Now, to the Celtics' credit, that's a game they do lose last year. And I think part of it, again, goes back to the competition and that this version of the Pacers is not quite at the level of, last year's version of the Heat or whatever year you want to go back to. This is their easiest road. But at the same time, you got to give a little bit of credit where it's due, and the fact that they were able to pull one out when that's a game that in previous years, previous iterations of the Celtics, it's it was gifted to them, but in previous years they would have found a way to gift it right back.
It was gifted to them, but it was also if they had lost that game, it would have been somewhat easy to excuse away because it felt like Indy made every shot down the stretch in the fourth quarter, especially. Pascal Siakam just making
ridiculous
jump shots from just inside the 3-point line with relative ease. It's just everything was falling. I mean, just for them to even get back in that game.
It's great. It's just old school basketball, mid-range jumpers.
I know. That was the thing.
It was kind of cool.
He's taking them off the dribble. It's just a step back from inside the 3-point line. It's you don't see that ever.
Some defensive plays the block by Halliburton on Derek White.
Oh,
and you're oh boy.
Well, then the other thing too is I was holstering a take on Jason Tatum, who I really don't think played well down the stretch. A few turnovers, missed a couple of wide open shots, and just as I was about to be maybe I'm going to write something tomorrow, maybe I'll even tweet about it, he just goes nuts. And credit to him, he made that one step back 3-pointer from straight on, which you could hear the net getting pierced the way he hit it. It was just so pure. And then had that play at the rim as well. That's the thing with them. They just have so much talent. Drew Holiday had the best game of his playoff career. You've got that. You got the idea, the lingering return of Porzingis. It's just, we're not dissecting the atom, or was that splitting the atom? Is that what? To say that the Celtics are more talented than everybody else, but that's where it's at. I think, and we talked about this a couple weeks ago, I think the only play now is if you want to bet the Celtics, you bet NBA Finals MVP. And Jason Tatum is the heavy favorite, plus 105. Anthony Edwards, plus 310. Luka, 6-1. So that kind of tells you where the market is headed in terms of teams.
I think of Tatum's Game 1 performance, like that is the perfect snapshot of how or why they're probably going to win the NBA title. It's like their talent is just, it's that much better than everybody else that it overrides any of their flaws. Exactly.
Yeah.
Like he can get away with that mid-court turnover that if that happens in a previous year against a legitimate opponent, like you're losing that game. And then the series is different.
Maybe Minnesota is like, they're dogs enough to be like, we're going to punch you in the mouth. We're too young to care.
Yeah.
But we've seen in that sport, it takes a while. You have to almost lose before you can win. So maybe I guess they could present a challenge if it gets to that. But like, even so, there's no excuse when you're that much more talented top to bottom. So there's nobody I don't think who can really make them pay for their own mistakes. So they're kind of just
this isn't a case of, you have the previous version of the Golden State Warriors waiting in the wings, and it's like, or even we got to survive their 7-game series and then go face those guys,
or even the 2022 or whatever, 2022 Warriors who are at the end of their like it's that not even that team. Can anyone other than Tatum win the finals or MVP if the Celtics win the title? I mean, I gave you Derek White a couple weeks ago. That has not aged well.
So he'd be 25-1.
I think it's pretty clear. There's an obvious.
Jaylen Brown at 8-1.
He just made the biggest shot of the entire season.
Yeah, if you want to go there, maybe that's the approach you take.
Porzingis 30-1 kind of stood out, but I just don't like physically. I think anything you get from him when he comes back is kind of gravy.
Yeah.
Kyrie 36-1. If Dallas gets through, obviously it's Luka's team, but like I could see, there's a fairy tale world where they beat the Celtics and he goes off and has his own little revenge thing, and he wins the MVP at 36-1, I guess.
So basically, it's like looking at the sort of the second star on each of the teams, and then kind of going from there. Yeah. But if you like Dallas, like Luka at 6-1, it's whatever. But it's obviously Tatum's award to lose, and it was like I said, that Game 1, it's wild. You look up, and at the end, he had 36 points. So he had 10 in overtime, and
it doesn't matter how or
the
what.
numbers are there, and it's you feel it when he comes up in the big moment. But there's gonna be some ebbs and flows along the way.
We have like 5-6 minutes left. Let's do a whip around.
All right.
PGA Championship was last week. Xander Schauffele won. That will not be what we remember the PGA Championship for. I think it was Scottie Scheffler's arrest, which was one of the more surreal sports stories of all time. Do you have any Scottie Scheffler thoughts?
But I thought it was an entertaining weekend in general.
I don't love that course. I don't like the fact
I don't think
that
anybody does.
21 under wins a major, but that also kind of feels like the perfect Xander Schauffele.
It's seen somewhere that it was, obviously that's the under par record for a major
by 200 shots.
Yeah. I think like the prior record was like 1995
it was
or
like
something.
54 over.
Something
and this
like
one
that.
was like 200 something under. Yeah.
Insane. But yeah, no, I thought, when you factor in the Scottie Scheffler arrest, which it happened at around the time that we were all kind of getting into the office and stuff like that. And I had told you, I'm like, this has the potential to be like my favorite sports story.
It kind of
just because of like how like novelty it
kind of died down, but it was crazy. Like you had the mug shot with the orange jumpsuit. You had the police report talking about an $80 pair of pants getting ruined beyond repair. And then the guy comes out and shoots 66.
Yeah.
Struggled on Saturday. Probably would have won the tournament if it weren't for Saturday. I think probably just kind of the adrenaline wore off. But, they're going to Colonial this week for another big one. Scotty's in the field. He's like a +2 something favorite. There's a restoration there. Rugged. Going to see a new rugged Colonial. I like guys who hit wedges well here. I like Max Homa 20-1 this week. Tony Finau 28-1, and maybe Sepp Straka 45-1.
Does your outlook on Xander Schauffele change at all? Like now that he kind of got the monkey off his back.
I think it's interesting. He said on part of my take, he's like, I feel like I hit this curve where there's everyone betting on me to win, and then everyone's like, this guy's never going to win, so they just stop betting me, and as soon as they stop betting on me, I win. Which is a perfect encapsulation of Xander Schauffele, where I'm just like, I even said,
I've talked to multiple people leading into and throughout that tournament who were like, this is the one time I don't take
We
him.
kind of hit on it really quickly last week where he was like 14 or 16-1. I'm just like, the guy never wins, and like he's talented enough to be 14 or 16-1, but for a guy who never wins, I can't. It's not. I need at least a 2 in front of that number, and then of course he wins. So he's good.
Yeah, that's like that second tier of Super Bowl futures bets. Yeah. Tie it back to the beginning. Like there's teams that you're like, oh, I really like them, but not to seal the deal against the likes of the Kansas City Chiefs.
There's a NASCAR fight. We can probably skip over that.
You sure? What'd you think of it though?
It was
NASCAR fights are sick.
It was good. It was a punch that kind of came out of nowhere. A little bit of a sucker punch from Ricky Stenhouse, Ricky Steakhouse as he's known in these parts. Seeing the conversation he had with Kyle Busch did not feel like it elevated to the point of
a punch.
I'm going to punch you. But what's interesting, so they
that was premeditated. He's like, I gotta punch this guy.
This is the thing. That race was at this North Wilkesboro track where they don't go anymore. It was for the All-Star race. This is an old track. Like the NASCAR fogies wax poetic about it. Like everybody's like, let's get back here. So what happens is you go to these. If you've ever been to Loudon, right?
Yep.
So they've got all those tunnels that go underneath. So like Stenhouse wrecks on lap 2, and like typically he just gets in his truck, leaves, goes underneath. Like maybe they take the camper or go home. You can leave, like you're done, right? So you just go into the tunnel and out, and you're back on the highway. There's no tunnel at this place, so you're stuck on the infield. So he's got to sit there for 2 hours,
letting
just
him marinate.
Being like, this son of a bitch, I'm gonna punch him so hard in the face. And this thing was clearly premeditated. I feel like he's
but then by the time the 2 hours passes, it's like, I already told myself I was going to punch this guy, but now it's like I'm not even really that amped up about it, but I still got to follow through and punch the guy in the face.
He's talking about, like, hold my watch. Like, I'm going to have somebody hold my watch. I think he was talking about his dad. Like, he had, like, a big-ass Rolex or something on.
His dad getting in the mix.
So then his dad gets in the mix, and that was sick because, like, that is one of the funniest things you'll ever hear in a fight where it's like he takes the punch, and all of a sudden, everybody jumps in. Stenhouse gets tackled, and he's like, my dad! My dad! Hey, get my dad! And it's like... it's funny. He's just like yelling, like, "Hey, get my dad!" His dad is throwing haymakers. His dad got popped in the face pretty good by Kyle Busch. It's like that's a pretty funny thing. And also, this is how I know I'm getting old. I saw his dad go at him, and I was like, first of all, I was like, sick quarter zip. And then I saw his glasses fall off, and I felt legitimately bad for a human I have never met who is in his 60s trying to fight a 40-year-old race car driver. But I'm like, that dude lost his glasses, and now he needs to go get another pair. Like, because they're getting stepped on. I felt bad for him losing his glasses more than anything else. That's my big thing.
You never want to see your dad get his ass kicked, but like that, like,
get out of it, Dad, too.
I guess it kind of depends on a situation like that, right? Like if the dad's like a real hardo, it's like, okay, maybe you get a little rough with them, like grab the collar a little bit. But like if it's a guy who's the old man and the wedding singer, and like, I used to be a lot stronger. It's like, okay, maybe we usher dad off to the side.
At the same time, though,
but he was kind of in the middle.
I kind of respect it too. Like, like if you're there, you're there. Like that's the NASCAR's sick because like. It's just there's like a million different camera or video camera angles of it, which makes sense because like you see this thing and there's like the shot from the back. It's literally like it's like World Star or whatever. Like it's just because it's just kids. Like, well, they're not kids; these are all adults.
It's like sanctioned World Star.
Yeah, exactly. They're all circled around them, and everybody's got their cameras up. So there's like 16 different angles of this because it's just the kids in the hallway.
And like, you think about it at its very
core. It's one of those stupid tweet. It's going to show up in your algorithm. You're going to see like guys dying and stuff.
At its very core, it's road rage.
Yeah.
It's like controlled road rage. Yeah. Just guys getting out of heavy machinery and engaging in fisticuffs.
Like you talk about golf. Like let's get some fist fights after golf. I don't know. We can figure that out. I like Kyle Larson this week though. Going to Charlotte. Oh, that was one thing. Charlotte Stenhouse goes, I'll wreck you at Charlotte. It's like, dude. It's probably not a good idea if you're not suspended. So I don't know. Kyle Larson is my unofficial Charlotte pick for this weekend.
All right, cool.
And then finally, this is a quick. You can bet on it. The king of the WWE King Queen of the Ring is this weekend. And
I believe
Saudi
so.
Arabia,
So, yeah,
Blood
Saudi.
Money Invitational.
Yeah, spending Memorial Day over.
I wonder if Bryson DeChambeau is going to show up. You know, kind of some Saudi crossover. Do you have the odds up? I haven't. Really...
I don't even have the odds up. No,
So who's gonna
I
win?
included this in there, and I don't even really know. I'm not even all that familiar with the card.
I was going to say neither am I.
I was just no big prediction.
I mean, Gunther.
we got
has
like a Brock Lesnar return or something.
No, I don't think so.
come on.
Maybe. Yeah, Gunther. I think
Tax Cody Rhodes.
Gunther is my pick for men's King of the Ring. The women's King of the Ring, or Queen of the Ring, excuse me. I guess. Well, we haven't figured out the SmackDown winner. Lyra Valkyria. Is that whoever comes out of the SmackDown bracket? I don't know.
Oh, I'll give. I think Chad Gable's going to win the Intercontinental title.
Wow.
He's going to be helped by the Creed brothers.
Well, okay.
That seems to be a hot talking point on the interweb.
Nia Jax versus Bianca Belair is the women's semifinal, which to be held Friday night in Jeddah, I think, on SmackDown.
All right, yeah.
I think Bianca Belair wins that, and she's your Queen of the Ring. I also think
And turns heel.
Okay, sure, yeah, love it. I think Uncle Howdy shows up.
Oh,
as well.
there you go. Yeah, maybe that's the
He's
surprise.
been stewing
no
in the
Brock.
desert.
We'll keep it Uncle Howdy.
Yeah, which is exciting stuff. So as always, we start.
You can bet on it. We don't have the odds, but they're out there.
We start with we start with the most mundane NFL discussions that you can get anywhere else, and we talk about Uncle Howdy at the end. So the Creed brothers or whoever you were just talking about turning heel.
Maybe they'll join up in Uncle Howdy.
Maybe they'll be part of that. Who knows? So that's that for this week, I suppose. Ricky, anything else? Any parting takes? My watch is telling me to walk around.
Yeah,
so.
let's get out of here. Let's adhere their advice.
We have some other things to get to as well.
Sure
so
do. Yeah.
it's been a pleasure as always. Let's do this again next week.
Happy Memorial Day.
Happy Memorial Day. Thank
say
you.
that?
I guess so. Yeah,
Okay.
which is a weird thing to say.
Yeah. Well,
Enjoy
America.
Honor the dead. That's it.
all
Goodbye.
right. We'll see you next week.